want to call your attention to the dollar Swiss pair. I'm not a huge fan of head and shoulders patterns, but when they do show up and they're fairly, I guess, what you would consider a standard setup, I do want to pay attention to that. This is also a good time to review, remind, and inform how you trade the head and shoulders pattern. So for here on the dollar Swiss, this is on the 4-hour chart. I am looking at these conditions here, and then finally, ultimately, this could actually go a little. The shoulder could go a little lower to 88.24, so another 30, 40 pips lower. That could happen. And let me just cheat it so that we can see the levels. Now, this is important for a couple of reasons. A head and shoulders pattern is not complete until the neckline is broken. And the neckline is this line right up above. It's that kind of trend line that forms where the shoulders and the head are at. So that forms around the price range of 89.20 or so. But then look at the volume profile on the right. Right here, there's a pretty sizable gap between 89.15 and 89.89. What does that mean? Well, that means that there's not a lot of activity here. And when you look at the volume profile with these horizontal lines sticking out, especially the ones that are sticking out further, those are called high volume nodes, where a lot of participation has occurred. So this is telling us how many buyers and sellers have participated at a certain price level as opposed to a certain time period like we would see with vertical volume bars. So if price were to break the neckline, that's a bullish event, but then it's probably going to sustain higher and have a very fast or a very easy move all the way up to at least, we'll just say 90 even. Why? Because when the volume profile is very thin, it means that price is going to get up here, and then it acts kind of like a vacuum where it gets sucked up higher. And that's the kind of behavior. So, the volume profile itself is just notifying us that, by the way, if you move higher here, look for prices to shoot up fairly quickly or at least fairly easily. The fact that the fact that the neckline break above would also coincide with this low volume node here is a very good sign. We continue on looking at some other pairs here, specifically some of the Aussie pairs, Aussie dollar. A lot of flagging patterns showing up here on the daily chart. It looks like there could be a continuation move higher. However, the composite index and the RSI are both coming up against some short-term resistance levels. But otherwise, this is a pretty standard looking bull flag. And what that means is that this is just a bullish continuation pattern. And I'll color that green because, well, it just makes more sense to color it green than keeping it red. So it's a pretty standard bull flag. We could probably see it retrace the channel lower down to 76.49. So about a 120-ish pip drop lower before finding support, moving back up. If the structure doesn't hold, expect it to drop down and probably test 73 or 74 even. The Kiwi dollar, similar story, except the slope here is a little bit more steep. Both the Aussie and the Kiwi have a pretty sizable wick on their charts, which could be pointing to some downside pressure. We've been kind of discussing this all week. Going back to the dollar index, what we looked at the other day, that head and shoulders pattern is here as well. So just keep your eyes open for some type of reversal. On the short-term chart, what we have going on here, if we look at the 4-hour chart, we really just have another example of a bull flag off of this little move, which is actually just on a larger move, it's a bear flag. So it makes total sense of why we are seeing some conflicting price action here. We're seeing things that are very complementary, and then we look at stuff that's very contradictory. That's very normal in technical analysis. The presence of a developing head and shoulders pattern is very indicative of indecision. So just keep your eyes open. Watch out for the fireworks to occur. We are coming up to the end of the trading week here and the end of a pretty wild month. A wild week. You guys have a good rest of your trade day. From those of us here at Exchange Rates UK TV, please don't forget to like and subscribe.